Welcome to this week's Artist on Art. I am your host, Nada Milkovich, and I got the great pleasure of speaking with Eli Weinberg. Eli, thank you so much for coming into the station.
So much for having
Bring
me.
the microphone a little bit over to yourself.
Here we go.
Eli Weinberg is one of our own, I would like to say, here because he's an alum of UCSC. He came here and studied in the theater department.
Indeed.
As well as graduating. And then he stuck around in Santa Cruz, and he's been dancing, as you said, nonstop since you graduated?
Yeah. I've been dancing quite a bit.
That's fabulous, Eli.
Yeah.
There's that much dance in a little towny town like Santa Cruz.
I know. It's you wouldn't think, but there's a huge dance community, and from everything from different ethnic dances to dance contemporary and different ballet schools, and there's so much happening here. It's really amazing.
It's really great. We are so rich here in Santa Cruz and blessed, and Watsonville, the whole Monterey Bay Area. Eli is here tonight to talk specifically about, although I have seen him perform many times, and it's a great pleasure to see you here at the station. But you have your own. Is this your first?
This is it. Yeah, this is number one.
Full-length theatrical extravaganza, folks. It's called This Land Is My Land. And it premieres next Friday, November 16th, and it plays through the Saturday the 17th and Sunday the 18th. And all three of those performances start at 8 p.m. at Motion at the Mill, which is at 131 Front Street in Santa Cruz as you're starting to curve around to get to the ocean. This Land Is My Land is a multimedia type theatrical experience.
Indeed.
You're saying dance,
theater, film, live music. I mean, we've got, exciting stage and set design. The way that we've organized the audience is different. We have a little bit of everything.
So, Eli, this is a really interesting dance theatrical performance. Tell us how you got the idea for this piece.
Well, I think that upon graduating from UCSC, I began to notice a shift in understanding where it was that I was living and what this town meant to different people and how different people associated with the town, and realizing that everybody in some ways had unique ways of looking at this place, and in some ways there were kind of crossovers and ways in which people identified with the town and landscape of Santa Cruz in ways that paralleled one another, and so I really kind of got excited about seeing how my shift in perspective of this place could also shift, and then seeing how it could be similar to those who have lived here for many, many years, similar to those who maybe have many generations of people living here, and then also kind of detached from those experiences too, and maybe not so connected to those experiences. Came from a place of wanting to know a little bit more about what it was that people felt about this place and why.
Do you feel that experiencing student life up on the hill here, and being a part of Santa Cruz, yet being kind of above it in a way, and then coming down perhaps the hill and becoming part of the Santa Cruz regular folk, the working rabble that we are. And because you stuck around, it gave you this opportunity to maybe take a different perspective and notice a shift in yourself.
Exactly.
It was hard graduating, wasn't it?
It was a shock. I think that you come to kind of understand your surroundings based on the people that you associate with, and I think that being up here on the hill is in some ways a kind of secluded lifestyle, and while some are able to kind of make that the transition of understanding, even though while they still are students, I think it really took until I began to spend more time off of campus, lived off campus my sophomore year. But even when I was living off campus, you end up spending so much time up here that it's hard to connect in sometimes with the community that's off the hill. So I definitely saw a shift in the way that I perceived Santa Cruz, and it's, I think, in some ways easy to see why there's such a disconnect in some ways between the community up here and the community in the lower.
Eli Weinberg, do you want to give us one of those ideas of yours? Like, how do you is there a way we can help bridge these differences?
I think in some ways that it's in the art making. I think that there's something that transcends the mentalities that exist by the different ways in which we're able to make work and think about these things. And I certainly, through the dancing that I've done here in Santa Cruz, there's been plenty of opportunities to be up on campus, off campus, working with people who are still students, working with people who have been in the community for years and years and years. And so that's been kind of an incredible opportunity to see how those bridges are created. I think that.
So some of those people that you've worked with are people such as Tandy Beal,
yes,
who has been a long-time instructor here up at UCSC, and world-famous dance choreographer, stage manager, producer. Also Sid Perlman, who does amazing choreography. I don't know, is she a part of UCSC?
She is, yeah. I think that she is working through the dance department.
In the theater
I believe
department.
So. Yes.
The theater department.
And certainly at Cabrillo as well.
The theater and dance and Cabrillo College.
Yes.
Also, Dixie Schulman. Who's that?
Dixie is a choreographer. She came here from New York City a few years ago, and so has taken on a lot, is now the director of the Santa Cruz Fringe Festival.
Oh, that's right.
And so she organized that extremely unforgettable event where we had artists from all around the country here in Santa Cruz presenting work from theater to dance to comedy. I mean, it was really, and got to perform in that as well. And so that was really fantastic. And so I think, yeah.
I was out of town.
Oh no! Yeah, it was great. You could see like six shows in a day. It was amazing.
I know, it sounded so great.
Yeah.
I was out of that country. Ted Warburton. Ted Warburton is an amazing dance choreographer, also here up at UCSC. Rodrigo Pino, another professor here.
He was a professor of mine in Chile. So when I was down at the University of Chile, he was a professor of an Indian martial art called Kalari Payatu. And so I studied with him, and he also was building work down there, and so he asked me to be a part of a dance kind of experience. We danced in a fountain with no audience, didn't tell anybody that it was happening, but at 10 o'clock at night had live accompaniment with a trombonist and a small set up for drummer. And interestingly enough, it was also kind of a historically based piece on three figures in Chilean history, and we each represented one of the three, and we're climbing in trees and trying to move through the water with these huge trench coats, and realizing so little of it was possible in the water that had been rehearsed out of the water. And so that was a really fun experience. And then there was one of the dancers who I guess he just didn't know until he made it really into the water and began dancing, this fear of drowning, I think, that really surged up and just became so much a part of that performance that was kind of, scary in some ways and remarkable. Just it brought this different element of fear, and but he pushed through, and we danced it, and it was a really remarkable, and it was an amazing kind of opportunity to perform in Chile, kind of with others.
So Eli Weinberg, you had part of your education was working as a student abroad.
Yes.
And you spent several years in Chile where you were studying both modern dance and the cultural dance?
I was studying, I was actually at their acting school. So I was at the University of Chile in an acting specific program. And there's an incredible thing, I think, about that particular program where they really focused on the physicality of actors, and had you taking dance classes, had you taking movement classes, really seeing the acting body as a kind of integrative whole from voice to mind to body. And so there were opportunities to train in dance there. I lived in a dance studio for my first 6 months there.
That must have been cold.
It was cold. Yeah, I remember my walls kind of falling off whenever I'd rub against them, because it was still made of some sort of dirt, kind of composite. And I think the house was over 100 years old, and it was a really amazing living situation, and also kind of a difficult moment. Clothes would never dry if they were hung in the winter. I mean, it was cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Chile seems cold.
Yeah, parts of it are.
Yeah, at the mountains.
Yeah, we were right at the foothills of the Andes, so we definitely felt the winter.
And it calls you back, doesn't it?
It does.
Eli Weinberg.
Yeah.
He has a theatrical experience happening, premiering his first full-length production, This Land Is My Land, happening at the Motion at the Mill next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, November 16th, 17th, and 18th. Tickets are available at santacruzdance.com. This production came to be through a generous grant from the Cultural Council of Santa Cruz County and the Santa Cruz Dance, which is the umbrella organization for Motion Pacific, Motion at the Mill.
Yes.
Do they also do Dance Week?
Yes, exactly.
It's a pretty large organization.
I believe the Ethnic Dance Festival as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I see.
Yeah.
And Abra Allen is a big part of our dance community here, and she was the one who was like, you got to get Eli on. And here he is. Eli comes from... Boy, you come from all the big cities, huh? Los Angeles, New York City, Berkeley, and Santa Cruz.
That's where performers are coming from. But
those are your performers are coming from.
An actor coming up from LA, coming down, another one from Berkeley. Have a dancer who's flying out from New York City to dance as an elephant seal in the show. Don't want to give away too much, but she's going to come all the way out.
She must have had some experiences watching elephant seals, because until you've seen an elephant seal, how would you even know?
Yeah. And we performed this particular section as part of the Emerging Choreographer Showcase in 2010. She was a fellow emerging choreographer, and so
at the 418
project. And so she danced it there, and
so she's already done the elephant.
Yeah,
so she just flew away, and now she's
living in New York City now. And I called her up and I said, we're bringing it back.
We got to resurrect.
So she was willing to.
Does she play
a
male, like a big guy, or
she is one of the wieners actually, which is a baby.
Super wiener?
There's the super wiener. We have super wieners and we have wieners. So we like to distinguish those who only wean from their mother and those who kind of go from one to the other. So trying to be representative of all of the different elephant seal kind of bodies out there.
So Eli, you've got some elephant seals. You're also exploring east side versus west side of Santa Cruz. Is that done through competing gangs, or how are you...
The elephant seal piece is actually the kind of commentary on the east side, west side.
Nice.
We kind of came to see, in many ways, those mentalities similar to mentalities of that are seemingly kind of animalistic in some ways, and representing territory and terrain. And so the elephant seal piece is actually the section on the contemporary Santa Cruz reality, and having seals kind of battle it out and hold their ground in some ways, and then you have the little ones who maybe cross the lines, and so
it sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun one.
You also have some pieces involved with the Ohlone Indians. Tell us about that.
So the work begins kind of from the establishment of the mission in Santa Cruz, and I decided to kind of go from there because I saw that kind of as a moment that saw a great shift in the way that people related to terrain and territory here in Santa Cruz. And so we kind of explore the relationship between what it may have been like for a Native person to be brought to the Santa Cruz mission, likely against their will. There are many accounts, I think, of what it was that would have kept them there, if not for kind of by force. But kind of exploring how that shift in reality could have been, and what the life could have been like. Kind of really asking the questions about what it meant to be there, and how strange it must have been, and in some ways maybe how terrible it could have been for the Native peoples who were here, and brought to the mission and kind of forced to become part of this idea about what the Spanish Empire or the Spanish kind of civilization was in California at that time. And so yeah, a little bit of an exploration about what those realities were and the relationships between the missionaries and the Native people.
You are listening to Artist on Art, and Eli Weinberg is telling us about his theatrical performance production called This Land Is My Land, where you're talking about many different stories that go through time. From the Santa Cruz mission to the Italian fishermen that come and work at the Santa Cruz Municipal Wharf, the Chinese merchants and laborers battling anti-Chinese sentiment, all of this. Oh, as well as representations of East Side, West Side gangs fighting it out as if they were elephant seals. All of this could be found at This Land Is My Land. You're utilizing dance, theater, film. Who makes the film for you?
Evan Adler.
That's right.
Yeah, been our filmographer and videographer. So he's kind of come in and we've done shooting. There's a whole section that's about the lumbering in the redwoods, and so we have something a film that he shot with dancer Molly Katzman, and he built that whole work, and then also a section of the elephant seals who are out. In the water and kind of playing around and getting into the kind of physicality of seals. And
would you say that this piece has possibly some roots with your work in Chile with Rodrigo Pino?
It's interesting. I think that certainly the experience of being a foreigner in Chile had me thinking, especially because I was there for 2 years, had me thinking about what my relationship was to that particular place and how well I would ever be able to connect in with the reality of others who were there. So it was certainly a topic that I often battled with, and that sense of home and what that meant, and where I could find moments or kind of find a sense of connection with that place. Certainly through the people, I could feel very real connections and friendships, but there was something about being so far from where it was that I grew up, or where what I knew to be kind of comfortable or common, and being there and kind of reintegrating what home and what my connection to physical space was. So there were, it was a conversation that I often had with myself and with others about that sense of connection with territory, or the connection with physical space, I think, more than anything.
So did you ever feel like Chile, this is my land?
I definitely came to consider Chile like a second home, and I think that in many ways it was because of those personal relationships that I built, that it did start to feel more like a place that I didn't wake up and constantly was reminded that I was far away from my home in California. In some ways it did, and in other ways I think there was still a lot of time that it would take to completely feel that sense of connection.
Eli Weinberg talking to us about This Land is My Land. Before we had started the show tonight, I asked Eli about the writing, and you replied in a real interesting way. You said that there really wasn't any writing,
right.
and then I asked if you were then maybe the curator of these vignettes, possibly, would you call them,
sure.
This Land is My Land. Tell us some of the writings that you are bringing together for this show.
So, the text that is used, certainly a lot of the choreography was built based on reading from different books about different histories here in Santa Cruz. And then there are some sections, too, that build from directly from journals that were written from a Franciscan missionary that had come here and was surveying the land of Santa Cruz with a kind of exploration party and imagining what that was like. I take directly from writings by Walt Whitman and Ralph Waldo Emerson, and have two actors in space kind of going back and forth about their understandings of nature and how that began to contribute in some ways to the draw out west and these ideas of manifest destiny, and that kind of plays then into the section on the redwoods and having many people coming here to work in the redwoods around the time of the gold rush, and so taking those writings and seeing how those kind of connect in potentially with those mentalities that were brought here with people coming from far and wide to kind of reap the benefits of California and the natural resources here. Also have pulled ideas and directly from Santa Cruz Sentinel articles, especially with the stories that we kind of explore with the experience of Chinese merchants and laborers here in Santa Cruz, and the anti-Chinese sentiment that was so present here in Santa Cruz in the late 1800s. We've pulled some of the texts from there as well, from the Santa Cruz Sentinel, and writings that were certainly, you had racist writings that were published for everybody in Santa Cruz to kind of to read, and that were part of the mentality that was kind of propagated here in Santa Cruz. And it was they're scary. I mean, sometimes really scary to see what was being published and what was being accepted as truth for people here, and for some people, and so we take from different places and different books on history and directly from Santa Cruz history to build the work.
So do you have anything you could read for us right now?
Yeah. Here I just have a little section. So you have from an expedition by it's a Spanish expedition, in Francisco Palau, and his journal that he's writing, and he's speaking about the landscape of Santa Cruz and what it might provide for the Spanish crown. And so he says about Santa Cruz, he says, "This site is fitted not merely for a town, but for a city. Nothing is lacking to it. It has good land, water, pasture, firewood, and timber, all at and in abundance pasture. Firewood and timber, all at hand in abundance, could be established a quarter of a league from the beach with all these advantages." So he's speaking about all of these different natural resources that are available in Santa Cruz. It speaks about the San Lorenzo River, and is kind of establishing that this is certainly a place where the Spanish should consider building a mission, which would then expand into a city and then expand to this place that we call Santa Cruz.
To us now, today. Mm-hmm. So Eli Weinberg, This Land is My Land, his first full-length production, theatrical production that utilizes dance, acting, video, music, installation art, and it's presented by the Santa Cruz Dance. And it was also, as mentioned before, generously helped, funded by the Cultural Council of Santa Cruz County. Don't miss this wonderful, very interesting theatrical, I don't know what else to call it, theatrical experience. And
performative event
happening November 16th, 17th, and 18th. That's next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 8 o'clock p.m. You can find out more at santacruzdance.com and also purchase your tickets there, santacruzdance.com. The performances will be at Motion at the Mill, which is located at 131 Front Street here in Santa Cruz County. Eli, thank you so much for coming up
Thank
to
you for having
KZSE.
me. So appreciate it.
Oh, it's a great pleasure to have you up here. I hope you have a tremendous, successful performance.
Thank you so much, Nada.
And we get to see you again sometime. In the future.
Sounds good.
Eli Weinberg, everybody. Hey, there's another interview coming up next, so please stay tuned. Next up, we'll be talking with the director of the Cabrillo Theater production of Black Snow. So stay tuned, everybody, and keep on listening. This is KZSE Santa Cruz, commercial-free radio at the far left of your radio dial.